Halverson on the morning show here, and I'm very excited because I get to sit down virtually, God bless Zoom, with the president of Hunter College, Jennifer Raab. How are you?
Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining. You must be so busy, so thank you for making the time. I can't imagine your to-do list on an average day.
You stay calm and you plow through. But you know, when you have the great privilege, Sam, of being head of an institution that makes the American dream come true, you want to get up and go to work. I mean, when you see the accomplishments of these students and how far they come and how much they'd have to overcome pre-COVID, and now add the COVID challenges, it is so heartwarming. And anything that we can do as a team of leadership at Hunter College to move that goalpost, to make that American dream come true, we're here to do it, because this is what makes our city, state, and nation great, are the next generation of leaders for our country.
So I feel like I don't have to ask you if you have a lot of passion for your job.
No, I love it. Yep.
That's fantastic. So this isn't where you started. You trained as an attorney. So you had a very different, first start. What made you kind of switch over into public service? How'd you get into this career?
That's a very interesting question. I actually started with my heart in public service, interestingly. And I actually started thinking about what I wanted to do in life on this corner at Hunter College. So I'll explain. When I was 12 years old, I was told I was eligible to take the Hunter College high school test. And I grew up in Washington Heights. I'm sure many listeners live there or come from there, great neighborhood. But it was a neighborhood, and they came and it was all girls then, and they told 10 of us got on the number 4 bus with number 2 pencils and showed up on 68th Street to see if we could get into Hunter College High School for 7th grade. And when 3 of us made it, they told us in the neighborhood, oh, you can't go downtown, you become a snob, you become a man-hater, you're going to all-girls school. And I'm the only one in my family to go to college. I'm the youngest of 4. But my mother, who was not educated, but had a passion for education and understood the importance, said, get on that bus and you're going to go down and you're going to get a premier education. And that's a lot of things happened for me, because I took the number 4 bus through Washington Heights and Harlem to one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the world, the Upper East Side. And I became much more sort of, even as a 12-year-old, politically, civilly motivated to make a difference. And after college, I went and got a master's degree at Princeton in public affairs and public urban policy. I worked up in the South Bronx. I worked in the city government. And then I finally went back to law school to fulfill a dream. So even when I practiced law on Wall Street and did commercial litigation, I did a lot of pro bono work, and I just always knew my life was going to be engaged in public service. I did 2 political campaigns, so I kept my hand in. And when I had the opportunity to leave the law to go into government service and become the Landmarks Commissioner for New York City, I really jumped at it. And I had a wonderful opportunity there, making it more rational and clear and fair to regulate our historic property while still saving the values and the history of our city. And when the presidency of Hunter College became open, I said, that was where my privilege really started, on that corner where no one else went to college in the family. That's where it became possible for me to go to college on a full scholarship. And I said, let me come back and let me do what was done for me for others in this wonderful place of Hunter College. And that was 20 years ago.
I mean, it's got to be so inspiring for any student who knows that, because there are a lot of people in any position of power, of stature, that don't have like a certain kind of path. You know what I mean? But you really have gone through so much of what you hope your students go. You've been there, you lived it.
That's right. When you live it and you know why, and you know that just a little help can make this huge amount of difference for a student.
Yeah.
And it's because, as you said, you lived it yourself.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's truly priceless, really is. I love hearing that story. So Hunter College is considered the crown jewel of SUNY, and for those who don't know, City University of New York. And there's no doubt that your work over the last 20 years was a huge part of that title. So what do you feel like you've accomplished in this time to make it a more competitive school since you've, day one to now?
And that's interesting. We're a competitive school. What's great about the CUNY system is that it's large and there are places for every type of student. And we have a feeder from our community colleges where if you don't get into a senior college the first time or don't choose it, you can then transfer in. So there's a lot of different stepping stones. So when I came to Hunter, I did want it to really be a place of excellence for all within this public system. And we went about really raising standards for our students, but also then recruiting the best faculty. And of course, the stronger students you have, the more interested faculty are coming to be there. And then we also set out to really create an atmosphere that students wanted to be in and faculty wanted to be in. So we've raised a lot of money to renovate facilities and expand our facilities. We moved our social work school up to East Harlem and built a campus there where we're very engaged in the college. We built all new art facilities in Tribeca, which is a very artsy neighborhood. So we've also built a whole new library. And that was an interesting conversation with the wonderful donor, an alum named Leon Kuberman, who said, but libraries are passé. What kid goes to a library? And the truth is students don't take out books. The most checked out as much anymore. The most checked out item in a library is now a computer. But students want to be in a place that says you're valued as a student. You're going to be a scholar. You're doing research. You're studying. It's a place of quiet, or there's group study rooms. So we transformed our library into a student-centered study spaces, books, research assistants, tutoring centers, rooms for convening and working on projects. So it's really not your mother's library, but it's a beautiful space. And then we were able to create something, and it's interesting as a commuter school, when the students came to us and said, now we have a great place to study, could you find some place for us to have fun? And that was exciting because students used to leave Hunter, they were commuting. Now they wanted to stay and make it their home and go to club meetings and be part of political groups and advocacy and public service, and also play some ping pong and foosball. So we created, but isn't that great that you create a family for students? So each of these things, both excellence in students, the excellence in the faculty, the excellence in facilities, have all been a part of a pattern to raise the standards and to give to our student body what the best universities in the country give to theirs. And that's where I feel like I've been very blessed. I've gone to 3 Ivy League schools. I know where money is invested, what it looks like. And I'm very big on copying what schools that have resources do for their students. And we've been doing a lot of that for our Hunter students. And remember, so many of our students are first generation in their family to go to college. Often, or sometimes they're the first generation to go to college in this country. So they may have had educated parents in South America, but they had to flee a political situation. They've come here, they had to learn the language. And now their kids are coming back into school, and there's so much pride. We're incredibly diverse, a very large BIPOC population. And this is who we're helping, first gen students of color. And we're making them move up this rung, this academic, experience to become achievers in the city, in the state, as I said. So it's a really incredible vision. And to give them what the richest colleges give their students is really the goal that we live every day.
It sounds like you completely surpassed what's, expected of a college, and even what a student going into a college would expect. You did such a solid job that they were like, this has been great. And I commuted too when I went to college. So I have such memories of, you need a comfortable, welcoming space, but for students to go the extra mile and say it is so comfortable and so appropriate, I'd like to spend more time. Can you make
and so you can agree. And it's an interesting thing in college. If you think about the credits, perhaps you're spending actually 15 hours a week in school, right,
Mhm.
in a
Right,
class.
right, right.
But you want the student to have much more of an experience. So we also start to think about, different types of experiential learning, experiences where students are learning, but it may not be in that classroom for credit. So internships or group projects, or going to have like brown bag lunches with leaders. So we have a lot of different programs. So for our pre-law students, we bring in our alums and other top lawyers to talk about what kind of options or careers in the law.
Incredible.
Same thing for pre-med. And for public service, we ask our local representatives, please come talk to the students, tell them about your career trajectory. So there's classroom time, but so much is about what happens outside of the classroom. So for our art students now, we get free tickets to shows and to museums and to art galleries, just so they can experience New York. We were shocked to find out how many students come to Hunter loving the arts, but they have never seen a Broadway play and they never had that opportunity.
Oh,
So we've raised money. We have generous people to say we have to reverse that. This is New York. So we have to get these kids to enjoy the cultural opportunities. And that's been another big push that we've engaged in.
oh, that hit me. And I loved hearing about the arts at Hunter because I went to a performing arts high school. Like that was such a passion of mine. So to hear it's a passion of other people who haven't even, I was so lucky and spoiled that it is absolutely something I take for granted until it's brought to the forefront. That's just what an amazing thing. And you mentioned the faculty that you have. I mean, let's flip over to the arts really quick. You have someone in your theater department who is on television, right? Show
Yeah.
goes.
Yes, I do. And that's taking advantage of New York. You have so much production here. So to be able to have an actor that kids can see on television, and then he's coming into the classroom teaching is truly extraordinary. He's in Ghosts and he loves teaching and he loves, sharing that professional experience. But then who brought him in? Well, the chairman of our theater department, Greg Mosher, is a multiple Tony winner. He helped create Lincoln Center Theater. So everyone in the theater community is somebody who is a friend of his. Last week he brought in the theater critic from the Washington Post to talk to the students. So we work to bring in people who are practicing in their fields to impact the students. The great grandson of Camille Pizarro, the great Impressionist painting, runs our gallery program, Joaquin Pizarro. So you're touching the students in their areas and the arts, and you saying how wonderful you were able to study. It's wonderful if you can be an artist and become someone who also is making a very large paycheck, but that's somewhat unusual, as we know. And New York is the capital of the arts, and we need a truly priceless education in the arts for a price students can afford. You cannot be an artist saddled with incredible student debt. It's just not a viable situation. So we're so proud at that for our master's programs, our MFAs, and our undergraduates. We offer this priceless education at a price students can actually afford with our scholarship help, so they can follow their passion to be an artist and not have to worry if they're going to be able to, pay the rent. And we find, and I'm sure you can relate to this with, you'll hear many immigrant families or students say, oh, I want to go study music. And the parents say, you really better study accounting because you'll get a job, right? So we've created a merit scholarship program for students who are interested in the arts. And we provide a large share of their tuition and other support, dorm rooms. And that gives the parents confidence. They feel like, well, if a college is investing in their child and saying, well, Johnny is so good at singing that the college is giving him a scholarship, maybe we don't have to pressure him to study accounting. Like maybe there's a job, there's a profession at the end of his passion. And we've also introduced an arts management certificate so that students can think about, okay, maybe I'll make it as a singer, but if I don't, I'll get the business arts management skills so that I could go work in a music, a publishing house, or I can work in a
Right.
concert
You never
hall.
divide from your passion,
That's right. You take
as a
that passion as a singer and you work in Lincoln Center and help support the arts that way. So you were trying to find different ways to have people follow what their natural passions are. But one of our new strategic goals is really to think about this question: where will you wind up? So
Right.
when we say, please come to Hunter, that we're all committing as a college, the faculty, the advisors, we have a responsibility to also think through your career. We don't only want you to come, we want to send you out with a plan. And that's a challenge, but we've tried to start thinking about matching majors with career tracks. And as I said, creating internships or bringing back people who, I was an anthropology major. Here's why I do very well in the museum world. Here's why I do well in retail, because I understand people. So what are the skills you're learning in a major? How are they transferable to the professional world? And that's something, it's a new strategic goal of all of us as a community to say, we have a responsibility, not just to educate, but to think about where the student is going with this education.
I love it. It sounds like the perfect marriage between what people approaching this time in their life are thinking, and what, parents, guardians who have it in the rearview mirror,
Yes,
what
yes,
they are thinking.
that's right,
Uh,
that's right.
It's really a beautiful thing. So I've been told that you have the only freestanding dance department in the city university, which
Yes,
is incredible, and it makes a lot of
that's
sense
that.
given your location. I mean, the center of Manhattan. So what advice do you have? I mean, I feel like you kind of covered it, but there specifically, what advice do you have for students who are interested on that path, or parents who have like students interested and maybe are a little where
Well, I
you're
think, I'm
referencing?
very proud of how we've evolved. So we have all the arts now at Hunter College, undergraduate and graduate. So you can be a dance major, theater, music, studio art, art history, to be going to the galleries, to be a writer. And we like to have cross fertilization between the arts.
Love it.
And as I said, we feel confident to say, listen, this is the capital of the arts. Follow your passion, major in art, and maybe get that certificate in arts management. We will support you in this love, because the arts feed the soul, the arts make great citizens. And so we feel that we can help people think about a track where they're not going to be lost when they graduate, and they can pursue their art. And many people you find will come in as they want to, they love playing their instrument, and then they decide that being a lawyer or a doctor is also a cool thing to do. So you don't have to stay on that track, but we do give you a lot of room to nurture that talent. And as you said, how could New York not have in a public college system, have a freestanding dance department? We are certainly the dance capital of the world. And our students are so engaged. Almost every year they actually dance in the city center fall for dance presentation. So they are very engaged, and so many of our donors provide tickets for them to go to major dance performances. And we just added, and we have two incredible programs. And again, this idea, Sam, of how do we tell you, be a dance major, but let me think about your future? Well, two ways. We have the largest and most successful dance education program in the country. And we train more dance teachers of high excellence for the public schools than anywhere else. So we are training these dance majors, then they come in and they get certified for the public schools, and they go in and bring the beauty and joy of dance to the K through 12 system. And that is a very unique thing in New York City, the way we do arts in the public schools. And we have many advocates that want to make sure that as each administration changes, the chancellor is still committed to arts education. So that's one way that we help people think about, I love dancing, but what am I going to do as a career? Well, become a dance teacher for the public schools. And what a great, you can still do choreography, you can be in a dance troupe, but as a day job, what a beautiful thing. And the other is we've added a dance MFA, and that helps us train dance teachers for other universities and colleges. It also helps us train top choreographers and managers of dance troupes. So we're always thinking about how do you help build on people's passion and yet give them those discrete professional skills that will let them succeed.
And it sounds like from all this, like another subspecialty, fully intentional or not, although I wouldn't be surprised if it was, that you guys offer is we see a huge correlation within the, fairly recent past with students and anxieties and expressions of anxieties and grappling with. And I can fully recall that exact split worry that you are with now. I recognize as anxiety, but as a kid, you're just like, oh, this is just the regular stuff everyone goes through.
Right.
So it's so wonderful that what you guys offer ends up being as well not only an answer, but a soothing, band-aid over the process that people have to decide. You're really just kind of that extra bonus parent.
It's very challenging to be a young person in these days. I think the pandemic was extremely hard on young people. That isolation really disruptive in people's lives. So we have invested heavily in mental health services to make sure our students feel strong and confident so they can really take advantage of the education. And it's a very serious issue and something that we're working on also for the K through 12 system. So Hunter started as an education school. We were the 9th school in the United States to accept women into higher education.
That's incredible.
And it's something we're extremely proud of. We are 152 years old. We started in 1870. Thomas Hunter was actually an incredibly progressive figure, and he had so many progressive ideas that his native country of Ireland thought it would be better if he didn't live there anymore. So they essentially sort of expelled him from the country. He came to New York.
Thank you, Ireland.
Yes, and he believed deeply in public education, but interestingly, Sam, that teachers should be prepared to teach, that they should be professionals, because at that time you would have sort of 13, 14-year-old girls really at that age graduating from the top level they would achieve and then showing up very soon after as the head of the room as teachers. And he believed that teachers deserve 2 years of content learning. They should really know more than their students, a year of pedagogy, so they would learn how to teach, and quote, like a doctor, a clinical experience. So from the 1870s, we created a model school for our teachers to learn how to teach, which exists still today as the very renowned Hunter Elementary School. So this is very part of our history, is teaching. To this day, we train 1 out of every 10 New York City public school teachers. So we are so committed. And one of the things, as you were mentioning the issue of, anxiety and emotional mental health, we have just raised a very considerable gift to create a center on social and emotional learning, so that all of our teacher candidates leave with those skills to help work in the K through 12 space on the emotional health of their students. And now it's a crisis. If you think, we talked about college students being hit by the pandemic, both the little ones and the teenagers have really had a rough time with this isolation and trying to learn online. And we want to be prepared so that when teachers are in front of that room, they have the tools to diagnose, to assist, to observe and see where the students are falling between the cracks with this. You talk about anxiety that's getting in the way of them learning. Because if you're having those problems in 8th grade, you are not going to succeed in high school.
Such a core.
So it's something that we are committed at the college level, but we're also paying it forward to make sure our teacher candidates are prepared when they get into the public school classrooms to help students realize their full emotional capacity and not be hindered by, the terrible barriers that anxiety and other mental health issues can create to learning.
Yeah, you guys, wow, it sounds like you're like a top to tail kind of situation.
We are. It's interesting. The other 2 professional schools we have that are graduate and undergraduate are nursing, which of course is, the heroes of the pandemic. I mean, my nurses move me so much. They're just incredible.
And you're affiliated with Cornell, you guys, right?
Yes, and we have a very close relationship with Weill Cornell. We have a floor in their science research department where our top sciences work on research, and we work with research projects with Cornell. And then Cornell actually closed their nursing school actually when I was there in the 70s, and we are sort of essentially Cornell's nursing school now. And we're involved right now. We're working on a new program to train nurse anesthesiologists, and working with Cornell closely, and they're letting us use their high-level training facilities in anesthesia, which is just unheard of. So it's a very generous gift from a public college, from a private college to a public college, to help create a workforce development of these very specialized nurses who can perform anesthesia and help support the just absolute shortage of these kind of professionals in New York City. So that's a great partnership. And then our other school is in social work. And we're really, if you want to be a hands-on counselor, a community organizer, work in an agency, do child welfare, you come to Hunter College. We are just the hands-on social work school of the city. And about 6 years ago, we started an undergraduate social work program, and it's a wonderful career. There are so many jobs, and it allows young people to get a wide range liberal arts education, but to have a major in a helping field where there's always a job on graduation, because the demand is just, you can't keep up with it.
Truly, it feels like you were hitting all of like my heartstrings and what the world is dealing with. We have, obviously crazy opportunity for experience and education with the arts. That you could be affiliated with Cornell Medical School, and you say it's a gift, and I'm sure it is a gift. It is absolutely a gift, but that does not take away that it was also an earned opportunity on your guys' part. So incredible thing that you have accomplished there. And teaching, students get a chance to experience it while learning. As social work, my little sister's a social worker, and I consider her to be the superhero of the family because I do not have the stones.
Incredible skills to be a social worker. The patience, the listening skills are just something very beautiful, and sometimes an underappreciated. So I'm glad you said that, because I sometimes think it's an underappreciated profession. It's so difficult, and such a special kind of heart that goes into that kind of work. And it's very diverse. I tell students often to think about majoring in it or getting a master's, because you can do so many things. You can do one-on-one clinical work, but you can also run a child welfare agency. You can run a nonprofit. You can be a community organizer that's organizing tenants to get better, services in apartment complexes. So it's very broad, and it's really about caring. And that's an interesting thing too. Many immigrant populations, there's a lot of pressure to either be a doctor or a lawyer. And so part of our job is to say there's a huge career spans, different kinds of ways to help and to touch people and to help support people. So that's something we also work hard to kind of show the different choices of careers.
So do you guys have options or experiences if someone's in a particular field or already on their way to learning about a particular field, and now they feel like they're interested in education in that particular field? So teaching, but not the same as I want to be a blank grade teacher when I grow up.
Right. So one of the things we'll say to people, like, many people love science, but, becoming a doctor can be a very brutal career path. I mean, I admire our pre-med students, but it's very difficult, very selective in terms of getting to medical school. And so we will say to some of those students, why not be a great science teacher? I mean, how many of us, every one of us can say, oh, it was Mr. this, Mrs. that, who made me think of who, I could do this, right? Teachers inspire. So if you love a subject, come back and then add a teaching license to it. There are great jobs out in New York City public schools. So we always really encourage students to think about it. And maybe you do that for a certain period. And then we do a lot with leadership. So we have a very strong principal training program. So we try to then take our teachers and say, if you have the skills and you love the school building, what about being an assistant principal? What about being a principal? And now we have a special program to help train established principals in getting to the top of their game, because we're not going to fix our education system without great leaders in each building.
Whoever started the phrase, and I've said this for a long time, my roommate before my fiance was a teacher. She was incredible. Whoever started the borderline evil phrase, which happened hundreds of years ago, those who can't teach, I don't know what one terrible experience they had in their life, but it could not, from everything I ever learned, it could not be further from the truth. And then here you are talking about like the top of the game and everything, and they decided to lend it to passion of teaching as well.
That's right. And think about, that's right. You move one child in a classroom and you know, the influence, the impact that you have is amazing. So no, we're very proud of that route, you know, as being an education school. And
really amazing.
Yeah.
So what are some of the advantages, you know, if someone's wondering, do I want to go to a school in the middle of Manhattan? We are a taste, you know. Right. So that aside, what do you tell people? What are some of the real reasons it's great to go to a school in this location?
Well, I think you almost answered the question in asking it. What are some of the advantages of going to school in the middle of Manhattan?
I mean, I love it.
Everything. I mean, really, you know, the city is your campus. So if you think about it, you know, if you're interested in art, there's all the museums where we help you get internships and we go to see the art. If you're interested in medicine, we're around all the great hospitals, and all the hospitals have affiliated science research with them. If you're interested in government, you know, New York City is so great about internships. You have the state level and the city level and the federal level, everybody's here. All the professions are in New York, right? So, you know, whether it's, you know, law, we just started about 10 years ago, we realized that we wanted to encourage students who are interested in just going out and having a great business career to do that. So we started a business certificate where it's not a major, but we urge you to get that certificate. If you're a history major or a film major, you add on those business skills. So you learn some economics, accounting, legal principles of business, management, marketing. And that way you can go into so many fields because you understand sort of a history major is always a great writer, an English major, and then you match that with business skills. Employers love that. So again, but there's so many different job opportunities. Under the de Blasio administration, the program was started called CUNY 2X, where de Blasio's commissioners were very committed to doing something they think was so smart, and that was moving New York City making New York City Silicon Alley. We didn't need Silicon Valley, we had Silicon Alley. And they challenged us to double the number of computer science majors. I think you know, Sam, that is a very difficult major. I mean, sometimes people think it's sort of playing video games. The level of math and computational expertise is pretty extraordinary.
I took one class for an elective. I could not have tried harder. I made a buddy and it was his major and we studied together. I got a B+ in that class. I could not have been, I was more proud of a B+ in that class than I was an A+ in a class like that. Forget it. So difficult.
There you go. So that's exactly right. But we've now doubled the number of majors, and we did it with support from the city to, first of all, we embedded professionals in our department to help our faculty, who were wonderful and flexible, to say, what is the industry looking for? Like, how do we train our students? So we started to adjust our curriculum to make it more connected with industry's needs. We also then started with early internships, and many of them were with startups, so that we would support these startups with these interns that we paid, and they got the experience in working in teams and doing software engineering together. And lo and behold, when it was time to apply for the gold standard internships in the Googles and in the banking world, our students were getting them. So now we have this, you know, incredible track record getting our students the best jobs. So it's all of these different areas that you can do that in New York, because just every industry is here, and you can match that support with where your students want to go. So the fact that all the cultural opportunities, all the business and the health and, you know, all the professions, And the other thing that we all love about New York happens at Hunter College. The diversity is just extraordinary. It's every race and every ethnic group, and also different ages. You know, there are people who come to New York to be a dancer, and they dance, and then they decide at 30, I need to finish college, and they come
Oh, yeah.
back. We have in New York State, if you're over 60, you can audit a CUNY class for free. So we'll have people come back at 75 years old who want to just audit classes, and they'll be in a history class, and somebody will be talking about something that happened, you know, post World War II, and that person will pipe up and say to the professor, no, I was there. This is how it really happened, right? And you have an
Passion
18-year-old.
there's no age for passion, and there's no age for learning.
That's right. And how great to be an 18-year-old next to a 75-year-old explaining what it was really like to live in that era. So it's the diversity is extraordinary. And I want to tell you one quick story that we're so proud of, and talk about the modeling after the best. One of the things we know is that the Ivy League schools, bless them, have a very large percentage of the prestigious scholarships post-college, the Marshalls and the Rhodes and the Schwartzmans and the Fulbrights. And that's because they all have offices that were established to help the students who are the best matches for those fellowships achieve them. So when you start at one of those schools, you'll be selected and told, here's the right path. Take these kinds of classes, do these kinds of extracurriculars, do these kinds of internships, apply for this fellowship, which will lead to that job, which will lead to this, which will help you be a successful applicant for the Rhodes or the Marshall. So you still have to have incredible inherent talent and drive and intelligence, but there are certain, you know, roadmaps that will make sure that you have a fighting chance to be able to apply for these fellowships. So we raised $1 million from one of our wonderful alums, and we created an office of prestigious fellowships that was copied basically from the Ivy League schools that do this. And then we were able to hire a wonderful professional who did this for Harvard and Yale. And lo and behold, in 4 years, Hunter has had our first 2 Rhodes Scholars. And the first was an extraordinary woman from Edward R. Murrow High School, whose parents came here after the Haitian earthquake, had to start all over. Her father was a janitor in a temple in Brooklyn that allowed her church to use their building on Sundays. And she was an extraordinary scholar and became our first Rhodes Scholar, went off to Oxford. And then just this year, Dave Bazinet, who came here from Nepal, turns out that Sherpas have a lot of political strife. And he also, his parents had to flee the country. He was 6 years old, came to Queens from Nepal, speaking no English. He learned English. He's always helped navigate for the family. He came here on one of our Merit Scholars programs, and he studied human rights. He's been at the border. He's done all these experiential programs I was mentioning, but he also was a baritone, and he was a music minor and sang in our Hunter Opera program. And during his Rhodes interview, just as they are ending the questions, they asked him if he would sing a little aria. So he did in the middle of the interview, and he became our second Rhodes Scholar. And I have to say, most moving about him is he came here not fully documented. He was a DACA student. Now he is naturalized, and he's going off to represent America at Oxford University in England. So you can't, you know, talk about the American dream, an extraordinary young man, and he will hold his own there.
I have full body goosebumps.
Yep, amazing, right? So we're just, you know, as I said, the Hunter's motto is mihi cura futuri, the care of the future is mine. And it's really true. We tell all of our students, a public college based on public support has invested in you, and you need to go out in the world now, and whatever field you're in, art, music, finance, medicine, you have to give back. You have to care for the future, because you were cared for to get to this place. So it's something we really instill in our students, and And we see that, just, incredible public servants that have come out of Hunter that who we're incredibly proud of. Senator Andrew Gunadis, who represents Brooklyn and Albany, big fighter for CUNY, is a 2006 graduate. Eric Dinowitz, who runs the higher education committee for the city council, attended our education school. So some of the great leaders in New York, young students who I've had the pleasure to graduate, have realized already making a difference and caring for the future in the city.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds like we kind of just gone over a small book of incredible accomplishments. That is you guys and the students that have come out of Hunter College. I hope that people listening feel as inspired. Like, I'm jazzed. I got to go out and do something with my day. That's amazing. So President Jennifer Raab, where can people find out more information who are like, okay, great, now what? I've got to get there.
Yep, just go on our website, hunter.cuny.edu, look up our programs, come for a visit. We give many tours. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to welcome more wonderful students to Hunter College.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. And I can't wait to learn about the future stories that we don't even know are in progress yet. You're going to continue to have some home run shining citizens that come out of your college.
Thank you. Well, we'll look forward to telling you more about them. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for chatting with us.